do what they do, things that you may not agree with. So when I'm making the show, I'm trying to find like-minded individuals who agree with what I'm saying. I'm also trying to find people who may slightly disagree, people who are in the middle. But what I think we got to be careful of is always going out and saying, no, everyone from everywhere can be changed, everyone can be turned. I think that's unrealistic.
Right. I think that's true.
That's not the world. So, you know, you're having conversations.
Trevor Noah agrees with Van Jones on Trump. He did become presidential. On The Messy Truth Wednesday night, The Daily Show host told CNN's Van Jones he was right to call Trump presidential following his address to a joint session of Congress. The continued backlash over Van Jones's declaration that Donald Trump became president during his speech to Congress last week loomed large over Wednesday's episode of The Messy Truth on CNN. And those comments were the first thing he wanted to talk to his guest, The Daily Show host Trevor Noah, about when they sat down for their live conversation. "A lot of people thought that I had jumped the shark and joined the Trump administration, in the tank," Jones said. "Were you one of them?" "No," Noah replied. "You know what I realized in that moment?" He talked about how, during the debates, he would see Trump connect with people in the same way a stand-up comedian does. "He knows how to broach a topic in a way no one normally can," he continued. And during that moment with Ryan's wife, Trump even told a joke and people laughed. "People connected," he said, referring to the moment when Trump seemed to brag about the length of the standing ovation. "And I was like, that is scary, man. That's good."
That I'd rather have this kind of conversation with than the man I'm about to bring to the stage. The next guest has been sharing his truth for a long time, and we're all better off for it. Straight off the set of his other show, coming on my show, the best-selling author of Born to Crime, the host of The Daily Show, the one and the only Trevor Noah, up in the house. Oh, my goodness. Oh, here we go. Oh, I know I'm a star now. I'm a big deal now.
Thank you.
Hey, very good. Oh, man, it's so good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is nice.
I know. Look, hey, look, they came to see you, brother. They didn't come.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
That's bad for my self-esteem. Man, they didn't clap that much for me.
They're always here for you, man. They're always here for you.
That's good. So it's good to see you. Hey, look, let's talk about it. A lot of people thought that I had jumped the shark and joined the Trump administration in the tank. Were you one of them?
You know
Were
what
you scared?
No, you know what I realized in that moment? So, you remember during the debates?
Yes.
There were moments when Trump would connect with people. And I watched Trump do it through a different filter. I've always gone, when I see Trump, I see a stand-up comedian. He connects with audiences in the same way. He knows how to make you laugh in a moment where you didn't think you would. He knows how to broach a topic in a way that no one normally can. Yeah. You know. And during that moment with Ryan's wife, Trump even told a joke. And people laughed. People connected. And I was like, that is scary, man. That's good.
Yeah.
And when you watch Trump and what you said, my first instinct was, come again, Van?
Yeah.
But then when I watched it, I realized what you were saying. And the honest truth is that he became presidential in that moment. What's not scary is that he became presidential in that moment. I think what's scary is that it is that easy to become presidential.
Right. Yeah, I feel you on that. Listen, you are somebody that I look at, I study. I'm trying to figure out how to because you got a platform. You are a brother with a platform. I'm a brother with a platform. Yeah. It's not that many of us that have these opportunities. I'm gonna be real.
That's very true.
I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, that's true.
And so what I want to say to you is, I wake up worried, man. I feel the stress of feeling like I'm in a catch-22. I feel like we have to debunk Trump and all other people, phony people. It's not just Republicans. I've got to debunk those folks. But I also worry that when we do what we do, are we into the polarization? Are we trying to fight polarization with polarization? Do you worry about that kind of stuff when you're doing your thing?
You know, sometimes I worry about it, but the thing I've come to realize is you've got to be careful that you don't push it so far that you are empathizing. You should understand where people are coming from. But be careful of putting yourself in their position, because then you will justify why people do what they do, things that you may not agree with. So when I'm making the show, I'm trying to find like-minded individuals who agree with what I'm saying. I'm also trying to find people who may slightly disagree, people who are in the middle. But what I think we got to be careful of is always going out and saying, no, everyone from everywhere can be changed, everyone can be turned. I think that's unrealistic.
Right, I think that's true.
That's not the world. So, you know, you're having conversations, and sometimes it's having a conversation with someone you don't agree with to see if they see, you know, maybe some of the shortcomings of their argument. But I'm not in the world going, oh, I can change everybody and everyone can change me.
I think that's right. Look, the good thing, look, in a democracy, people don't have to agree. Dictatorship, you have to agree. That's the whole point of a dictatorship. You got to agree. Democracy, you don't have to agree. But and I love it. But I do think you have to understand. And my big fear is we seem to be living in a world where we can't even understand each other. You be looking on your Facebook page and saying, did I go to high school with this person? You know, you can't talk to your in-laws.
Yeah, but then did you really understand them? That's the thing I ask myself as I go, did you really understand them though? Or have we been living in a world where for a long time we've been glossing over everything? You know, when you look at, like, let's look at something like what's happening to President Obama now. You look at Obamacare. You look at the accusations against him. You go, at some point, is it something beyond just the fact that they didn't like his policies? At some point, you go, if it's unprecedented every time, what is the one thing about him that is unprecedented? And you start to look at this and you go, why are we so afraid to call these things out?
Are you saying it's because he's African-American?
Oh, I didn't even notice. Is that what you were talking about? I didn't even notice. Yeah, of course I'm talking about that, man. Of course I'm talking about that. At some point, you got to acknowledge it. You got to go like, okay, this is different. This is a black man. We know for a fact there are many Americans who say, I do not want to have Obamacare because it is named Obamacare. And you go, but it's not named Obamacare. People explicitly called it that as a nickname to make you not like it. And now what's scarier? The fact that they did that, or the fact that they knew if they did that, you would be opposed to it? That's frightening. Because politicians in America have learned how to harness hatreds and fears that people possess to get to their ends.
You know, I am trying, you said you can't change everybody, and I agree with that. I think the struggle is different. I don't reach out because I'm trying to change somebody else or I'm trying to make them be like me. I'm trying to reach out so I don't let this Trumpist environment turn me into something I don't want to be. I'm concerned that the overall environment of hatred and vitriol means that I might start becoming what I'm fighting. I don't want to feed what I'm fighting. See what I'm saying? So it's not that I'm not trying to change the people I meet. I'm trying to make sure I don't change.
But then
I want to keep loving folks.
Is that what you think Trumpism is, though?
What do you mean?
Because if I watch Trump, I feel like Trump is about the flip-flopping and the faux reaching out. Trump is about posing with the historically black college leaders and going, look at all the black colleges that we've gathered here. Did you hear them out? Oh, no, they don't get to talk. We're not actually going to do anything, but I took the picture. I'm reaching out.
Tricky.
The faux reach out is Trump's game plan. That's what Trump does. Look at me with Obama. We're friends. Oh, and by the way, he's a criminal who tapped my phone. Like, is that a real reach? I feel like that's the Trumpism, is going, one day I'm happy, the next day I'm not. You know, Rand Paul, he's a weird-looking guy. Now he's my friend who will agree on Obamacare. I go, that's Trumpism to me.
That's Trumpism.
Is going, the fight ends with love. The fight ends with love. It's reality TV.
Well, listen, I want to get other voices in here. You have all these people who came to see you, obviously, and not me, so they didn't clap for me. And we have another Van in the house. That's not usual. Van White wants to talk, and he's got a button on I hope he tells you about.
Yeah, good evening. How you doing?
Good evening.
My father marched in the March on Washington and passed away several years ago. But I do carry his button with me, the button that about 250,000 people wore that day. But I think about the marches today in cities like Rochester, Ferguson, Baltimore, New York City, and I got to be honest, my feeling is that we're reflecting some of the same protests and challenges that my dad and my grandparents faced 50, 60 years ago. So the question is, do the marches of today, are they more or less effective than the marches in the 1960s? And if you think that's so, should we be doing something different?
Well, that's a difficult question. I mean, there is no definitive way to measure the effectiveness of a march. If you look at South Africa, marches upon marches upon marches combined with protests from the outside and the inside, I think culminated in a political change that took place in the country. You can't deny that in America, politicians are still swayed by their perception in the public. So when it comes to marching, I don't know if it changes anything immediately. Yeah. I don't know if it is extremely effective if it's just one march, but you can't deny that it has an effect. You can't deny that people pay attention to it. You can't deny that people see this, and politicians see it as well. So if someone said to me, should I march or should I not march, I would go, march. Yeah. Because there may not be another way that you will be heard. Yeah. You know, that's one way for the country to see that it is not in a normal place, even if it's just for that. Even if it's not for America to go, all right, it's business as usual. Because you can't deny that at the end of those marches, the civil rights movement, you know, saw the reaping of those rewards. In South Africa, we saw the results of that. Was it only from the marches? No. But we can't deny that the marches were a big part of why that happened.
Beautiful. Well, listen, we're just getting started on this. I want you to stick around. We got more to talk about.
I was leaving.
No, you can't go. Lock the door. Lock the door. When we come back, the secret to President Trump's success so far and why a lot of liberals just can't see it.
That's good. And when you watch Trump and what you said, my first instinct was, come again, Van? Noah added of Jones's surprisingly supportive post-speech commentary on CNN. But when I watched that, I realized what you were saying. And the honest truth is that he became presidential in that moment. What's not scary is that he became presidential in that moment. I think what's scary is that it is that easy to become presidential. In other words, acting presidential is not the impressive feat that many of Jones's critics are making it out to be. In his interview with the Daily Beast this week, Jones said he has no regrets for praising Trump in the way he did the week before. My dad's in the military, and that moment where everybody in Congress stood up and applauded that widow, that really moved me, he said. And it moved a lot of people. I said, if he keeps doing stuff like this, he's going to be there for 8 years. Jones also asked Noah if he ever worries that by debunking Trump on a nightly basis he's actually adding to the country's polarization problem. Sometimes I worry about it, but the thing I've come to realize is, you've got to be careful that you don't push it so far that you are empathizing, Noah said. You should understand where people are coming from, but be careful of putting yourself in their position, because then you will justify why people do what they do, things that you may not agree with. He said it's unrealistic to think you can change everybody's minds. Later, when Jones asked Noah to try to help decode Trump's appeal, he said, we see the madness, and we focus on that. And then you don't focus on why he connects. You can't expect people to disavow him when that's the reason they voted him in. He added, the one thing a lot of people struggle with is Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. If you voted for Trump right now, you're like, yeah, this is what I voted for,